your family who left the milk out, do you get a chorus of, not me? Accountability is a life skill that both kids and adults can wrestle with. Here with advice on how to improve, we welcome back wellness and empowerment coach Megan Caldwell. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Anna. Good to be here.
Should we define the term first, accountability, and kind of specifically describe what we're talking about?
Yeah, so accountability, I think, is really about ownership with compassion, in that we are taking responsibility for our actions, but also remembering that we're human.
Sure.
It is about really bridging between intention and action. So when we know that we want to make change, such as put the milk away or change our healthy habits, it's how do we actually go from setting that intention to getting into action, and accountability plays in there.
Well, and sometimes easier to ascribe to others. I want everyone to take accountability for their bad behavior, but when you point the lens back at me, it's harder to self-reflect and go, oh wait, I'm not perfect either.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one way that we often go wrong, is that we are aiming for perfection. We are setting unrealistic expectations based on the season of life that we're in, the capacity that we have. I also think that we are fighting against our brain and our biology, in that our brain is wired to keep us safe. Our brain is wired to keep kind of homeostasis with how things are now. So even if we want to change, our brain is telling us don't do that because that's unsafe. And so that's what makes it so hard in terms of sticking with things and remaining accountable to ourselves and others, because we're trying to change, and change, again, to our brain and body can be scary.
Sure, removing that familiarity and comfort, even if it's a bad habit, it's a habit that you know and understand, so making change is always difficult in that scenario. So what about making the differentiation between external and internal accountability, and how you address that?
Yeah, so two main types of accountability right there, external and internal. I'll start with external, because that's one I think that we often think about first, is who do you go to, or what is the app that you use to check the boxes? And while those can be really powerful in terms of providing that external motivation, right, when we are accountable to someone else, I have women time and again tell me, it's so much easier to be accountable to you.
Right.
Well, yes, we don't want to let other people down, but it's then shifting from external accountability to internal. And internal is really, again, taking kind of that radical responsibility for your own actions and being able to set the goals, take those small steps towards them, and celebrate the progress along the way. So it then becomes an intrinsic piece of who we are, versus always needing to check the boxes, because that will only last for so long.
There you go. Once you get yourself kind of self-motivated internally, well, and then you probably get yourself on a nice wheel of empowerment, right? You see positive change and growth, and then it probably improves your whole ecosystem and the people around you too.
Absolutely. The progress builds upon progress. So when we can step away from aiming for perfection, aiming for these unrealistic expectations for whatever we're setting for ourselves, and really starting small and specific. So again, if we're talking about keeping the house in order, maybe we start with just, what does this look like to hold each other accountable, hold ourselves accountable for getting the milk put away, for getting the dishes into the sink, and then we can move into the rest of the house, versus taking on the whole thing at once.
Right. Well, so in terms of tips for somebody who's wanting to go on more of an accountability journey, is starting small a great place to kind of start that progression?
Yeah, starting small is always one of my top tips, and that I think, again, oftentimes we will chew off way more than we actually have the capacity for, the time for. Again, we live very, very busy lives, and the way that we're going to make sustainable change is to do it bite-size. Second, I think it's also important to find your people. So whether that be a coach, or whether that be a group, or whether that be a workout buddy, or whether that be having a conversation with your family members about what we can do to put the milk away, as your example. We, by nature, are social beings, and so to lean into that. And third tip, which is one of my favorite, which is what you kind of already alluded to, is measure the progress, track the wins, identify when you are making those small changes, because then our brain is going to look for evidence to support those wins in the future.
Okay, yeah, you got to celebrate even the tiniest step forward. Even is progress. What about raising kids who are accountable and just teaching them that concept?
Yeah, I think the first thing that we can do is actually model it, right? Is model it and show them how we're doing it. I always like to say, if we can make it fun as well, so something like the sticker charts or the gold star or the checkbox works great for kids as we are starting out with this, and for adults, let's be real. But then also transitioning into what are they saying to themselves? Are they celebrating? Are they acknowledging that they got the things done for themselves, not just because mom told me so?
Right, and taking pride in their own accomplishments, outside of that external praise, that can be so validating for them.
Absolutely.
You have a great event coming up that our viewers might be interested in. Tell us about it.
Oh my gosh, yes, thank you so much. So I have a free virtual event coming up called the Rockstar Mom Virtual Event, and it is geared towards those of us that are in the thick of it, who are juggling all the demands and roles of motherhood, career, life, relationships, home, and want to get off that hamster wheel of overwhelm and exhaustion and really move into a life with more ease and peace of mind and fun and confidence. So yeah, it's a free virtual event, and I've interviewed 29 experts, speakers, authors, doctors, people who are just as passionate as I am about helping women feel their best. And so I put together these expert interviews, and it's everything from hormonal health to habit change to sleep to, I mean, you name it, it's how do we holistically feel better?
We got to take care of ourselves too, and sometimes it's hard, so it's nice to have people to remind us that those things are important too.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here. Great to see you again.
Thank you, Hannah.
Of course. Okay, we'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.